right? I got my popcorn, got my Rubik's Cube, got my coffee, got my Espen, all the body needs. This is called 13 Ways to Sound Like the 80s. I suppose I'll see if I'm sure I'll agree with all of them. Mm-hmm. Top list. It's got sequential. Tom, remember that. Don't sidechain your bass. Quite. The technology was there. You can actually do it on the Drama DS201, but nobody did. It's kind of a joke to say that Daft Punk invented it, but in a way. Lower that bass. Or is that because of mastering? Yeah, well, not really, no. I mean, singles at 300 rolled off, but they weren't mixed with bass rolled off, really. I mean, that's a mastering thing because the needle jumps out the stylus otherwise. It's why you mono bass as well. I wouldn't take bass out your mix, although you take out the mastering. Use chords and melodies. Oh, I maybe use chords and melodies. If you're talking about melodies, because of mono synths. Or just because people were better doing it in the 80s. Yeah. Counterpoints. I'm actually doing a video right now called Do Chords Even Exist? Very controversial subjects if you know your music history, and by history I mean 1,000-year history. Yeah. Modulation. Does he mean key modulation? I assume he does, because I don't know where that's gone. Key modulation, exactly. Exactly. So Madness had a lot of key modulation. Maybe it's like no, I don't think it is a musical thing, actually. Nick Kershaw was very good at unusual modulations. But you also had things like, what do they used to call it? Truck driver modulation, like upper tone at the end. It can be tacky if it's not done well. Yeah. Don't compress or over limit your mix. I mean, sure, don't overdo anything, but there was a lot of compression in the 80s. It's wrong to say there wasn't. I mean, you know, the SSL had compression on every channel, and everyone used it pretty much on every channel. But, you know, yeah, sure, don't overcompress. But bus compression was often quite heavy. Oh, I've done it. It's good, isn't it? Hang on. What? Record on tape? I love Espen so much. I really do. Don't record on tape. Tapes are appalling. I don't know a single 80s producer who produced hits that wants to go back to tape. He's probably talking about something slightly different. I think he's maybe talking about how it's... I don't know what he's talking about. Don't know why he'd say it. There's some real fundamental problems with recording onto tape. So here's the first thing. Recording on tape's fine, but when you play it back, and I'm talking about the multi-track tapes, the more you play them back, and by the way, I don't mean a lot, I just mean during the course of, let's say, recording a track, the high end goes in an unpredictable way, and the transients get smeared. Bit of a problem if you're trying to record drums. And in fact, it's a problem whatever you're trying to record, because even if people say things like, I like the transient sneering, but that's kind of nuts because you don't know what you're getting. So you had to do things like record with pre-emphasis EQ, where you're boosting frequencies that you know are going to get dulled but you don't know how much they're going to get dulled. You had to do things like, if your drums went down first, which was quite often, you record your drums, and then you sort of park that multi-track somewhere else and sort of take a, stereo mix of them or something onto another multi-track that you then do all your overdubs for, and then kind of fly them back in. It's a whole nightmare. And then one of the great things about, say, synchronizing up drum machines is that for all the timing errors that I've gone into in this video, well, at least you didn't lose generations when at least the drums still sounded the same if you could keep it in sync. It was an absolute nightmare. It's also a myth to believe that it was all done on tape. It wasn't all done on tape. The digital multi-tracks came in the 80s, and I can't remember who they're by now, but I'm pretty sure one of them was by Sony, and I just can't remember who the other one was by. It was 24-track, digital. I think you could slave another one to it. You couldn't cut it like you could cut tape, so if you need to do that kind of stuff, you can't. But then you didn't lose, any of the sound quality as you're just playing back to do the overdubs. The main thing is this. Here's the acid test. Whatever it sounds like, no one wants to go back. No one that was there wants to go back. It's horrific. It's a nightmare. I mean, I hate saturation plugins. I don't use any saturation plugins. So if you're talking about doing something like, I don't know, record it out to tape and then record it back to do, I don't know, I just don't know why you... Will it make it sound like the 80s? Not really, no. I mean, some of that 80s stuff never touched tape, never went anywhere near it. Was Songs to the Big Chair done on a digital multi? I mean, the Frankie stuff was, and that sounds pretty 80s, right? Sorry, I'm digressing. Love Espen. Is that Jip? God, he's got a Jupiter 8. It's like the price of a small house. And that's a Roland MSQ 700. I have one of those sequences. Mine is currently just deciding not to start. I think it's just a cable problem. Limitations are very, very, very good. Like whenever I'm working with artists, one of the classic things is you basically decide the kind of sound palette you're going to use, and you just don't deviate from that. It really is very good for creativity. I do it myself as well. It's one of the reasons why I play in open tunings on the guitar, because you have to throw yourself off balance. Throwing people off balance is, not so they want to hit you, but these are all very good tips. I think I just misunderstand what he's saying about recording to tape. Right? I must do, because it's all really good stuff. Don't quantize everything. Well, don't quantize anything in the DAW. Play a lot of parts, obviously. Yeah, don't quantize everything. Leave something like quantized to create that human feel. Yeah, all good. Correct. Yeah. 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 Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. No auto-tune, obviously. Yeah. People did other things to tune vocals, which isn't tuning them. They used effects to make the pitch ambiguous. Oh, was that Bernie Sumner? He really can't sing. I suppose the best badly tuned or out of tune vocal from the 80s may be Tainted Love, which is all about the performance over the tuning. And there are also some other reasons why I think Mark Harmon couldn't hear the tuning. But Mike Thorne, who did that, he told a friend of mine who challenged him on why he didn't do the vocal again, that it was all about the performance. He used drum machines. Of course he used drum machines. Sound completely different. Well, I wouldn't quite say use drum machines, not samples. I think he means don't use samples. Yeah, correct. He's not talking about swing. And don't use samples in the DAW. Don't use anything in the DAW, really. So there's the sequential tom again. He I think he's really talking about this thing that I'm calling temporal phase drift, where they sound different because the alignment between the drum instruments is changing. You don't place anything on the grid. Never. Never, 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 never. To quote Shakespeare, never, 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 never. Is that Act 5, Scene 3? King Lear. Play some drums live. Yeah, that's really true. I think it's not clear whether they were doing it or what the motivation was, because it would have been quite difficult to sync up yet another drum machine to do a fill or something, and you can't really change the, it's very difficult to change the, yeah, but exactly, look, on pads, amazing, absolutely amazing, totally amazing, do that. You can make a drum pad yourself out of tin foil, basically. Uh, um, use digital sensors more. Sorry, what was that? I missed that. Use digital synths and samplers more than analog synths. Yeah, must right. Mm. So he's classing things like the FM synths as digital synths, I suppose. I suppose they are, but it's not DSP. Well, okay. I think by hybrid he means like analog. What's that? I don't know what he means by hybrid in the 80s. Yeah, he didn't. Sampled your analog synths and then layered them back. No, he didn't. What does he mean by that? Well, he didn't. I mean, the samplers didn't really have the I mean, what did you have? You had the emulator, obviously, and the Fairlight later. But I think the more common technique was, if you take some different synth architectures, like say FM, true analog, let's say Jupiter, maybe like a wavetable synth like the PPG, you might, if you're doing like a part, you might put that part down with all three architectures, or certainly in a song, mix and match them because they've got slightly different textures. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody like sampling an analog synth, and well, not really. I mean, you can talk about Depeche Mode, I suppose. Well, yeah, I think I see what he means. I suppose I think I see what he means. I think okay, all right. I mean, it really depends on which artist you're talking about. No, I mean, sure, 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 all good, all good. Don't use too much reverb. Well, no songs in the 80s really had long reverb tails because there weren't any algorithms that could do long reverb tails. So people used to obviously use, the Lexicon was very popular in the AMS. Yeah, you didn't have very long reverb tails, but you should be having long reverb tails anyway. Atmospherics and spatial effects came from somewhere different. But gated reverb was very much a thing. I mean, not the kind of classic gated reverb on that, Phil Collins track, but gating reverbs is a really good way of controlling a reverb on your snare if you're using reverb to lengthen the snare. But I'm not disputing what he's saying because I think he's making a very valid point, which is that those long, luscious reverbs are a myth. Much shorter reverbs. Okay. when you say you try to live by them, you're not recording to tape, are you? Really? Espen, are you recording to tape? Are you recording to tape? I definitely don't know what. So, okay, there's 13 tips, my lucky number. I think I probably agree with all of them, really. I don't understand his point about recording to tape, but Espen always gets the benefit of the doubt. I don't know what he means by that. I don't think he can mean let's go back to tape multitrack, because that way madness lies. It's, yeah, and also really expensive. I mean, just the tape, right? I think I do see what he means about. I think what he means about the sampling stuff was that you'd create a sound and then you take it into, let's say, an emulator, and then you play it up and down the keyboard, and that's quite an interesting thing to do, and that's true. When Depeche Mode and bands like that would do it a lot. All good, all good. I suppose where he sort of came up, where he's sort of talking about a similar thing to I'm talking about, is that he's talking about drum machines have an intrinsic feel. I'm not. That's true, but I think it comes from the hits not being aligned. When did I finish this? Did I finish this? I actually have very little recollection of that. All right, I'll just sit here and drink my coffee, shall I? Maybe I'll watch it again. Maybe I'll watch some other Espen Kraft videos. I've got this popcorn. Really failed to eat popcorn. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to Espen Kraft. How many subscribers has he got? Loads, right? He's got 93,500. Right, okay, that's, but let's get him over the top. Anyone watching my channel is still watching this video. If you're not subscribed to Espen Kraft, go and subscribe. However, it's a deal. The trade is don't record on tape. Oh my.